All right,
That works.
let me introduce everybody to everybody else. Robert, you've been on the podcast twice already. For anyone who doesn't know, world-renowned author in the tech industry, been Apple's first child laborer, is how he describes himself. We
It's
got
true.
Brian Hart, who is doing AI avatars, right? Oh, are you still there, Brian?
Yeah, he muted himself. So
Yeah.
if you're going to talk, you got to unmute yourself. Have your finger on the button.
Okay. We'll wait for you to come back. Andy Surtees from Tees Valley AI. You can introduce yourself because I know you have your hands in a lot of different pots.
Yeah, I do loads of different AI stuff. I did Vlog Base years ago, then collaborating, collab sharing site, which sort of still exists, but nobody uses collabs anymore. Then there's Tees Valley AI and Centigril now, so that did a load of computer vision stuff when that was still cool, and then and wasn't already integrated into everything else. And then Tees Valley AI is a sort of general AI consultancy and kind of software house. We make stuff for people and occasional sort of products and GPTs, loads of free GPTs that cool now that the store's open for everyone. And yeah, and I've been on the podcast a load of times, so
Yeah.
nice to be back again.
And Dave Matthews, CEO or CTO, Chief Technology Officer of what, 64 companies, I believe you said?
Advising CTO, yeah. So ran a venture studio for 2 years and did the first Internet of Thing gadget back in '97.
Wow.
And now building some edge AI stuff. And I do a podcast called What's Next Wall Street, where I talk about security, AI, blockchain, and meme stocks and all the fun stuff where people try and make a little money on this technology stuff.
Cool. Just so everyone
Buddies
knows,
with Scoble for 100 years.
just so everyone knows, we're not live yet. We're just like introducing each other. And Brian, you cut out. Care to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm been in technology for a long time and currently doing an AI startup with avatars. We're building an avatar with human emulated senses so that we can use motion capture data to move the avatar through different scenarios and then capture the sensory data, the results, and train foundation models with that.
Cool. Yeah. So so I was just brainstorming some topics that we could talk about. So of course the big news of the week is GPT-4o. Then we have like Gemini Flash, Ilya left OpenAI, Emod wants to decentralize AI, and Biden is putting a lot of tariffs on China. So I thought those were pretty good topics to cover.
Cool. It's 4-0, right? Not 4-0. But other than that,
Yeah. 4-0. 4 Omni. 4 Omni.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's get a little banter going just to warm ourselves up, and also we can figure out everyone's communication style before we.
And Brian, can you keep your mic muted if you're not talking? Because that sound is really distracting. Yeah,
There we go.
much better.
All right.
Yeah, it does
If I
sound
pull
like
out my
rain.
mic, is that any better or is that worse?
It just sounds like rain in the
Same.
background.
Just sounds like rain in the background.
Yeah.
Sorry, my MacBook is turning its fan on, I guess. All right, well, I'll mute.
You could do, well, anytime my fan goes crazy like this, I'll do a reboot, and then I won't load Safari. I'll just load a single browser. And
I'll try closing everything except for the browser. So if you give me 1 minute, I'll be back.
All right. That's cool. All right. Live on YouTube. Live on Facebook. Live on Facebook. All right. I'm trying this new app called Restream, which like sends me to all the different social medias. So I think we're good. Yeah, man. So I thought it was funny how OpenAI like kind of undercut Google, because I believe Google had their presentation scheduled first, and then OpenAI did theirs the day before. So now everyone's talking about all of OpenAI's announcements and none of Google's, even though Google has some really good announcements. That was kind of crazy.
Yeah, I thought the Google stuff was good. Yeah, it was. It would have been. I mean, OpenAI loves to do that sort of thing, try and steal Google's thunder, but and I think they did to a certain extent. But they're both making good stuff at the moment, which is nice because it's always nice to have more people to choose from when you're getting APIs or whatever.
Well, Google's set up for the perfect crime because think about everything that's in your Gmail from the past, few decades, right? 2003, 4, when Gmail came out, and being able to say to Bard or whatever they're going to call the Gmail assistant, say, show me how this project is on track, or give me all the expenses for this project. I mean, Expensify should have been shitting in their boots, right? This the ability for this to be automatically happen in something where your emails already go. And then when you can return the shoes by just taking a picture of the shoes you're wearing and say, I don't like these anymore. And then did you see this use case, Robert, where it went through the email to try and find where you bought those shoes and then automatically set up a return?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Google has all my data, man. They should be able to do a lot of things. It's taken a while for that aircraft carrier to start turning, but it's turning now. Might not be completely nimble enough to deal with what OpenAI is doing, but yeah.
But that is going to be a massive advantage, having all that data and all that pre-existing connections to everyone's ways of communicating. Because at some point, even if the AI is a little bit behind, all the AI is going to be good enough to do a huge chunk of what you want it to do. And the fact that Google's just connected to everything, it's going to be the easiest way of doing it.
Yeah,
and
OpenAI
it's
has
probably going to be free.
Yeah, free for the cost of your data, right? So even for this podcast. By the way, is this live or is this magic getting captured? Yeah, we should shut up then. Okay. I thought we were going.
We're wasting content.
Well, like just based on that back and forth, this is magic already. Like, so let's wait for Brian to come back. And
the trouble is getting us to shut up. It's not getting us to talk.
Yeah, you were talking about people's communication styles. My communication style is talking over everybody. So
there we go. I'm good at that too. I have a degree in that, talking over everybody. You're back.
I think that settled it. I had too many things open. Yep.
All right, cool.
You're quiet.
Yeah.
I can't hear the fan anymore.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that was worth the 2-minute investment.
No. It's better. Now I hear an echo from you.
Yeah.
Oh. Hear the background.
Yeah. Just whenever you want to talk, Brian, just like unmute yourself. I think that'll solve everything.
It's easier.
Yeah. All right.
We'll all mute ourselves too.
Okay. Let's start.
It helps me not talk over everybody if I'm muted.
Yeah. All right, let's start, guys.
Cool.
All right. Let me see. What should I start with? What's a good topic for us to start and engaging?
We'll just do a quick.
By the way, you can set up your mute so that you press the space button while you're talking, and then you lift off the space button and it mutes, and that's how I'm doing it.
Did you just? Doesn't work for me.
Okay.
Oh, really?
Oh, how'd you do that?
When you click the mic button at the bottom left to mute it, it automatically does it. It automatically uses the space bar to toggle. If you hold down the space bar, it lets you talk. If you release the space bar, see?
Oh.
So it mutes me.
I see. Yeah, it works for me.
Little pro podcasting tip.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good tip.
In case you got noisy kids in the background, you can do that, right?
For sure. All right, we're gonna start with OpenAI Monday because I think that's the biggest news, and then we'll just naturally go to the different topics. All right, All right, so hey everyone, welcome to another episode of today. I'm here with a gigantic. Let me just go through it in my brain. All right, cool. Let's start. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Medallion Excellent podcast. Today, we're here for a gigantic show. It's a big week in AI, so I had to bring on all the top guns in AI to comment on the great developments. We have Robert Scoble, Andy Surtees, Brian Hart, and Dave Matthews. You guys go ahead and introduce yourselves.
You muted, Rob?
This is the only time we don't talk over each other. This is amazing. Hey, I'm Dave Matthews. I do a podcast called What's Next Wall Street, and I'm a CTO advisor. I've done a dozen startups myself, and I'm really into edge AI. So I'm hacking around with some edge AI devices these days to do stuff off the cloud, because the cloud can be evil, as we'll talk about later today.
I'm Robert Scoble. I've been doing this a long time, wrote 7 books on technology, interviewed lots of companies, and I was Apple's first child laborer, is how I got started in this mess, because my dad moved us to Cupertino, California in 1971. So I've seen the whole thing go from nothing to now a big multi-billion-dollar industry.
Andy Surtees.
So hi, I'm
Tees
Brian
Valley-
Hart. I've been in tech forever, and most recently I'm doing a startup, Mind Machine Learning, where we're doing avatars to train foundation models to control avatars. So, yep.
Hi, I'm Andy Surtees. I've been doing various AI things for the past few years. The main thing I'm working on at the moment is Tees Valley AI, which is sort of general purpose, build you AI stuff you want sort of company. And good to be back on the podcast.
Awesome. So, as you guys know, OpenAI, they did a conference on Monday. But what I thought was funny is that they actually undercut Google's podcast, which was on Tuesday. And now we have these 2 huge juggernauts releasing multimodal AI. And what's your reaction to that, guys?
It's a big deal. It kicks off not just aiming a gun at Google. As Apple has Siri coming in June, a completely new Siri is coming in June, and I think Meta has an announcement in there. And I think next week Microsoft Build is happening too. So there's a lot happening in the next few weeks, and this kicks off a personal assistant war, right? Because they all want us to talk to our computers and have a personal relationship with them. And it took a lot of strides towards that. It's faster, it has emotion, it interacts with you, it knows what you're looking at if you're using the desktop app. It's crazy what it can do. So I'm looking
Apple's
forward to talking
spending
with you all about it.
Apple finally realized that Siri from 2011 isn't what she's cut out to be. And I hate that there's a lack of context. When I ask for something, there should be a prioritization. So give me what's most relevant now or locally, and then go to the cloud. And I think with Apple spending $1 million a day on Siri, plus they're negotiating with Google and Bard, plus they're negotiating with OpenAI. So there's going to be 3 layers of Siri, 2 cloud components and 1 local component. So it's going to get exciting.
Yeah, personally, I don't really like Siri. I try to use her to ask for things, and she just feels so outdated, especially when we have things like ChatGPT, Gemini, and the rest of them. It just feels like I'm in 2001 or something.
They knew that. I had dinner with the guy who ran Siri 10 years ago, and he knew that it needed to be rebuilt from scratch. And we still haven't seen that rebuilt from scratch Siri. That's what we're expecting to see in a couple weeks at WWDC in June.
You know what's most interesting is Alexa was so magical when everyone had the pucks all over their house. And does anyone have an Alexa plugged in anymore? I do not. I unplugged them years ago.
Yeah.
No, I think
Never did.
my Sonos, yeah, my Sonos can have Google or Alexa in it. I have it set up with Google right now because it's better than Alexa.
Yep.
Yeah. So
Brian, what do you think about all this? Are you going to have an AI girlfriend on your phone that you're talking to all day long?
I,
Replica.
if they make her a little less congenial, I think I will, but not. Well, no, I won't, because my wife would hear that and say definitely no.
It's a new world. We're going to be talking with our AIs all the time. I mean, I was at the display show yesterday, and they're making all sorts of new glasses. The glasses are coming along, so sometime in the next 18 months, I think Meta and Apple are going to have a pair of glasses that you talk to and can interact with us the way OpenAI showed us on Tuesday.
Well, Zuck has been showing this too on some of his videos, right? With the Ray-Bans, with the modification. It's the second generation Ray-Bans now, so they're getting a little bit better. But I was talking to one of my friends. He has teenage kids, and the kids that are growing up with this AI revolution are going to be different from the last generation, which was the pinch and zoom generation. So think about it. When we all grew up, like, does every one of us here know why a clicker is called a clicker?
no.
Because it used audio. It used ultrasonic audio to change channels. And then we went from like clicking to infrared to pinch and zoom. Pinch and zoom, you had an immediate response on your display. Right now, with an AI revolution, you're going to have immediate feedback to whatever question you ask. So dating is going to be impossible because no other person is ever going to be as responsive as an AI to you. So I feel bad for the what's after Gen Z. Is it
An alpha.
Alpha? We go back to back to the beginning of the alphabet again. I like it.
I only know that because my daughter is Gen Alpha. Yeah, she spends all day on her iPad. So like it's funny because like I guess I have a PS5 and she likes to play Roblox on her iPad, and then I downloaded Roblox on the PS5, and she just doesn't really like to play Roblox with the controller. So it's like it's weird. She only likes to use her hands on touchscreens. That's interesting. Yeah. So OpenAI, multimodality. That's the new phase right now, right? And we were all expecting OpenAI to like unleash GPT-5, but instead they released the update GPT-4o, which is the Omni model. And this Omni model made it faster. I guess they trained the model on audio and modalities itself, like audio, images, video, and text, so that you can instantly respond, so that it instantly responds with the input that it received. How is that? I guess how's that like a revolution? Like what's going on with that?
It lets you look at the use your phone with your camera to look at things and talk about things. So if you're making if you're over a friend's house and they're making some really interesting meal, you can pull out Chat GPT, aim it at the meal, and start talking to it about the meal. When I did that with my wife, it told me what kind of soup she was making, what was in the soup, what was the cultural relevance of the soup, how to say the Persian name of the soup, right, and all sorts of other things, right? So you start talking to your AI assistant about making a meal, for instance, and as long as it can see what you're talking about with the camera, it can interact with you and do a lot of things. I've already taken a picture of my spice rack. It knew all about the spices there, and it could tell me what I could use those spices on for dinner tonight, stuff like that. Dave, do you have any examples where you're using multimodality, which is cameras, microphones, and maybe even someday sensor readings, all being sucked into the AI, so you can talk to the AI about all these things?
Yeah, so what I'm doing with multimodal stuff is object detection and API calls. So I'm working on a camera that I can put at my door, and it'll just send me a text message with who's at the door. I'm tired of the alerts from Ring or Blink or Nest cameras, whatever, pick your favorite camera, where it's like there's motion at your door, and then you have to click and wait 30 plus seconds for that stream to boot up. So as a hardware hacker myself, I want an on-edge decode. I want faces that I can add very easily, and then a text message that just says like, "Hey, Robert's at your door at 3 a.m. And if it's 3 a.m., it might be a problem. But if it's 3 p.m., I'm like, oh, this is cool. Like Robert's here, nice, right? So, and I'm also
What are we
doing
doing
like,
at 3 a.m.?
yeah, exactly. So for me, it's about the modality, not for kind of novelty, right? 100 years ago, my team and I developed a QCat. It was the first IoT device, the barcode scanner for the internet. And we had people going crazy, scanning everything in their closets, pantries, CDs, books, etc. And instead of giving a 404 error when an item wasn't in the database, we did a, hey, wow, this isn't in the database. Would you like to add the URL for this item to the database? And if 3 people put the same URL in, and back then it was before there was Rickrolling. So in the year 2000, everyone was pretty much nice on the internet. So if 3 people put the same URL in, then we would have one of our engineers bless that URL, pending it wasn't a porn site. And the next person, the 4th person that would scan that item, would get the true website for that item. So if you think about what's happening now, like with AI, the fact that it looked inside your soup and figured out what the soup was, that's pretty impressive because soup is obfuscated by layers of water and muck. So
Right.
that's pretty damn cool. But we are going into this noise phase of AI, where if we thought the election was bad in 2016 with troll farms from Russia, the noise that's going to come out of AI content is going to be insurmountable. So yeah, I want less noise in my life and more signal, and that's what I'm trying to build with some of my edge AI devices.
Right. Do you guys think
It's a good goal.
you guys think there's a solution to AI being able to pretty much copy anyone's voice or copy anyone's face and probably mislead folks? Is there like some sort of maybe watermark we can put to like instantly identify things as AI, or it's just not solvable for the moment?
Not solvable for the moment. There's companies working on trying to solve that, but I'm telling all my family and friends, you cannot believe anything you hear on a telephone or on a speaker or that anything that you see on a computer screen anymore. You got to check things out, particularly if they have, if they have consequences. For instance, you're seeing a range of scams now, calling people on the phone, acting like it's your kid in trouble, right? And it sounds like your kid, and it can fool a lot of people. So you have to have defenses in your family against that. And my family has a passphrase that we ask for if we have such a call come in, right? Oh, it sounds like you're in trouble. Can you give us the family passphrase, right, before we go on? Because that way I know I'm not talking to an AI, right?
Yeah, that's smart. And in fact, with Google's announcement where Android will listen in to phone calls and be able to buzz the phone and show a massive pop-up on the screen that says, it looks like you're being phished. Did you guys see this? What do you think about Google listening in?
Yeah. I think I
think that's real interesting. They're already listening into our emails, right? And they're marking our emails that way. So why not mark any phone call? Oh, it looks like this person who you think is grandma is actually scamming you,
But how about over the last 3 years when people thought Facebook Messenger or Facebook app had a mic that was hot in the room? Because anytime we would talk about something in the weirdest, most esoteric manner, then you'd start getting ads for that item, right?
Yeah.
So people were so upset about that.
We're in a new world now, man. We're in a new world where the AIs can listen to you and have a conversation with you all the time. I mean, I have Chinese lights with microphones on my walls. These are nano leaf lights. So imagine a world where your lights are listening to you and doing things with you, and talking back to you. That world is not very far away.
Here's the thing. I actually think that the advertisements that Facebook gives me are very useful. Like sometimes I scroll through Instagram and it's like, I heard you were talking about this product. Here is all the different products in this particular area. And I'm like, thanks. I really needed something like this. But at the same time, it's like, why are you listening to me? So it's kind of like this duality going on, right? What do you guys think about that? Especially you, Andy. You've been quiet.
Well, yeah, it's going to be inevitable because there's going to be a demand for this tell me if it's a scam process, and then people are going to accept that means you have to know everything. And I mean, I think people react to it in a bunch of different ways, but I think the resistance for big companies having loads of data on people kind of withers away gradually over time anyway, as people just get more and more used to that's how it is. So I'm sure there'll be another approach that people can take where they go, no, I'm just not interacting with any of this at all, leave all my data out of it. And there'll be ways of doing that. But I think in a lot of cases, the job is on the companies doing it to try and gain the trust
One
of people
thing,
that
if
it's always going to be for your advantage.
Yeah, if you really care, Andy, if you really care about privacy and you want to use AI, right? There's going to be people who care about privacy and don't use any of this stuff and try to keep it out of their lives. The Amish, for instance, don't try to have technology in their lives, right? If you care about it, use a local model that's running on your machine that you talk to and does not report up to a cloud server. The problem is I'm using one of those local models. I use an app called Limitless on my Macintosh. It's recording me right now. It turns that into a transcript. It turns the transcript into a summary at the end of the call. It's really cool. And then it stores all that on my local Macintosh so that I can search, 2 weeks from now and say, hey, what was Andy talking about in a call? I remember, and it lets you search for that. It's really useful. But now I have a big data file on my local. It's not that big, but because they compress it really well, but it's on my local machine. Now, what's going to happen in the future when my AI assistant needs to know all my data? Well, I'm just going to give it all to it. I mean, Google's Gemini that got announced this week has a 2 million context window now. So you can drop, I think, 3 to 6 Harry Potter novels, the whole novel, into the context window and start talking to it about that. Well, in the future, if you're going to be asking AI for, a place to eat dinner at, right? It gets a lot better if you tell it what kind of food you like or what kind of food allergies you have or what, all sorts of stuff about your children. Oh, my kid over here doesn't eat spicy food and this one's a vegan, right? All of a sudden the list that it gives you is much better. You're going to give all your data to the AI, aren't we?
Probably.
Seems likely, yeah.
So
Yeah, speaking of that big context window, though, have you noticed that the hallucination goes up with the amount of context you put in? At least it was with the early version of Gemini.
Yes. There's lots of little ways to get your accuracy rate to go up, including you can blackmail your AI. Hey, AI, if you don't give me a good answer, I'm going to get fired this afternoon if I don't have this report really buttoned up, right? You can talk to your AI like that, and all of a sudden the accuracy goes up. LLMs are a lot
Has
of fun
anyone
to
got
learn
any
about
idea
and
why
see.
that works? That shouldn't work, right?
Because it sucked in all the human data, and that's how we work. It sort of is trying to rebuild humans in a computer, right? Human thinking process.
I mean,
But
I wonder
why-
if you can hack an AI by inserting little poison pills that because it focuses on small details as well as the larger context. I wonder if there are little poison pills that you can insert that'll completely throw off its answers.
Well, there
I
used
don't
to
know
be a lot
about
of
that.
with...
There's a whole community. Sorry about talking over you, Andy. There's a whole community. I have a list on X of all the security people, and there's people who are actually trying to hack the LLMs, trying to find weaknesses in them, and there are some weaknesses to exploit. Go ahead, Andy.
Yeah, I was just thinking that I think this used to be very possible in computer vision, that there were quite easy kind of adversarial examples you could give any computer vision system where it would misidentify something as something completely different due to a quite small amount of differences in the image. That doesn't seem to be such a problem anymore. I certainly haven't heard any examples recently on kind of recent systems that still suffer from the same thing. So you would think that similarly language-based models are going to be resilient to that sort of thing, increasingly over time as well.
The other side, the utility of these new multimodal models is really extraordinary. My friend has a heart problem, and he's been seeing a cardiologist about that. He took his readings off of his Apple Watch, his ECG readings, and his ECG readings that he got at the doctor's office, and put it into Chat GPT, and then lied a little bit about it. This is how you have to sort of play with LLMs to get them to give you the answers you want. He said, "Oh, I'm actually a radiologist, and I'm doing this to validate my own findings," right? And it sort of turns off some of the AI safety guardrails that prevent this kind of answer from happening. But it answered just like a cardiologist. He said it was word for word exactly what his human cardiologist told him out of the data, right? So we're starting to figure out what is AI really good at, as well as where are the weaknesses and where does it fall down.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of that, so one thing I noticed between the OpenAI conference and the Google conference is that they're really trying to emphasize how AI can be used to help you with learning, right? For example, in the OpenAI conference, there was the GPT-4o helping the person like learn math and walking them through it without like revealing the answers. Like, how do you guys think about like the future of learning, especially like with the upcoming generation?
Anybody here have a kid in junior high or high school and you're struggling with their math? You take a picture of their math homework and you ask for help. It's parent help. It's not even for your kid. It's just so you could talk to your kid about linear equations or something like that, right? Brian, do you use this yet with kids in your neighborhood? You know, helping people out?
No, my kids are adults, but yeah, I can see it being very
It
useful
can
to
help
teach
with
the
their
parents.
problems too, you know?
I went back to the glasses. I want glasses with like segment anything to, you know, label things with a different language. I think it'll be great for language learning.
Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of that,
It's really what they also showed off was real-time translation. So I'm going to put my phone. I married an Iranian woman, and all of her family speaks Farsi. So at parties, I'm either speaking English or Farsi, and I don't know how to speak Farsi very well. So I'm going to put down my phone and have it translate in real time on the phone, and you know, maybe I'll wear an AirPod so I can understand what people are saying. Then I'll talk back to them, and the phone will talk back to them.
But the Google earbuds had that technology capability as well. And
But I used Google when I went to the Shanghai Disneyland to talk to people, and it worked all right. It didn't work real time like what OpenAI is showing off. What's happening now is next level translation and help. Brian made a great point. Learning language is really fun with these things, right? Hey, teach me 10 more words in French, you know, because I'm going to Paris next week or something.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
or just have it track your gaze and label things in that language. It'd be great for vocabulary.
And the stock price of the apps that do voice learning, they all went down yesterday or 2 days ago because of this announcement as well. So the coolest thing, like if you look at what Khan Academy did, where I think my nutshell of Khan Academy is they got people that were really passionate about a subject to teach that subject. Well, now with the AI understanding what your retention is, take that element of expertise and add the second factor, which is how well you're processing it. And AI they have infinite patience to teach you that. They won't get frustrated like a parent will say those like, go ask your father or go ask your mother.
yeah, absolutely.
Very true.
I'm really curious because like I think my theory is that the reason why like this multimodality update had to happen is because a few weeks ago Marcus Brownlee completely destroyed the AI pins like the Humane and the Rabbit MQ, and it was because it took too long for the responses to come. So you ask them like, what's this, and it'll take like a process because it has to like see it and convert it to like a text and then like convert it to whatever and then respond, and that took forever. So I think the current update is because of how the review went. So what do you guys think the future of like AI assistants? What's the perfect AI assistant hardware? Would it be like these AI pens, or would it be smart glasses? Would it continue to be a smartphone? What do you guys think about that?
It's the
No,
phone in
we're
your
heading into a
pocket.
world of humanoid robots. Humanoid robots are where the money is. That's why Figure got $670 million to fund their company to build a humanoid robot, because you're going to soon have a humanoid robot in your place of work and or your house, and you're going to talk to it and say, hey, little dude, go get me a Diet Coke, and it's going to go and get one. Isn't that the ultimate AI assistant? Some thing that can actually do things for you?
Scoble, we grew up with the era of the Heathkit Hero. Do you remember the Hero?
Oh yeah.
The
I had
tiny.
my dad bought me a Heathkit for Christmas one year. It let you connect all sorts of different electric components and make like a transistor radio or some little project, right?
Right, but the little robot that they had was really just a trash can on wheels, right? It was like
Yeah.
a less pretty R2D2. So a humanoid robot walking around, like the only thing that walks around my apartment is a Roomba, and it does a crappy job vacuuming. So maybe like a
Well,
Roomba with an arm to get me a beer or a glass of wine, but I'm not going to trust it.
the the new how old is your Roomba? Because the ones that are just hitting the market right now that it costs like $1,200. I just interviewed the founder of Matic, which is another robot vacuum company. They're using computer vision now to do your vacuuming, and they're way better than they used to be. So if you don't like your old Roomba, you got to upgrade.
Yeah, exactly. And I did not meet my neighbors until I got a robot lawnmower. And once I got that robot lawnmower, every neighbor wanted to talk to me. And it too, it mowed like a drunken sailor, just like the old generation of vacuums. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah. Did
yeah, I
you
can
have to
imagine.
put a wire around your
Exactly.
lawn to tell it? Yeah, yeah. If you look at a company called Electric Sheep, they have a lawnmower that can do without the wire. It's
Yep.
using computer vision. So, yeah, there's a whole bunch of new products about to hit the industry thanks to computer vision, thanks to these multimodal models that are coming along. Um, New things are happening.
Have you seen that episode of Mad Men where they run over somebody's foot with the lawnmower?
Yeah, that was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, Brian, I want to get your take on this because you're working on AI avatar agents. So, like, where do you see the future of AI assistants going?
So I see avatars eventually being able to do speech to action, and just basically, if you could think of like ChatGPT that can embody a virtual avatar and change its form in the virtual environment, that's kind of where I think things will be in coming years.
Yeah, but in our episode, you talked about, like, let's say, actually giving like these 3D objects, like in a video game, a soul, right? So can you expand more on that?
Well, yeah, so what I'm working on is to make the avatars more sentient seeming. So when you're interacting with them, you'll think they'll be more alive in general. That's kind of the perception. So they can do things. Applications for our avatars will be like non-player characters in games that are just a lot smarter, more realistic. They'll save animators time when they're creating games because they won't have to animate the characters. They can just say, tell the character what they want the character to do, and it'll do it. But so maybe it'll streamline or eliminate some of the processes for animators.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of what Nvidia is working on, Omniverse. But I guess if we can do like a replica, then it makes sense that we'll have like these digital avatars, like have one to one. There'll be like a physical AI that we can interact with, like through our smartphones, smart glasses, AI pens, or whatever, and then there'll be a digital replica that can go out and do things for us. What do you guys think about that?
So I think the way of thinking about it is just like you're thinking about. People can kind of wrap their minds around what robots are going to be capable of doing. So I would just say, kind of translate that to the virtual realm, and then you have it. But the virtual realm is less constrained than our physical reality. So the virtual avatars that are controlled by foundation models will be able to do whatever you ask them to do, and a lot of interesting things will be possible in the virtual reality.
Yeah. And speaking of NVIDIA, they announced the Blackwell a few weeks ago with like trillions of transistor chips, and that's supposed to be a partner for the Grace Hopper chip. And these AI chips are getting so powerful. And also, Apple is coming out with their own chips. Google announced that they have chips. Like, what's going on with the AI chips? Do you guys like have any insight on that?
Here's my favorite.
There's two. Go ahead.
The M3 was what out, Robert? Like October, and then the M4 came 6 months later. Even with Intel, they had a 1 year tick-tock cycle. So it's amazing how fast silicon is getting pushed out. But really, the H100s and the precursors to that, or the after those, these are so expensive. And even like when Elon took Grok and said, "Oh yeah, we're going to open source Grok. You can run it at home." It takes what, 8 of these NVIDIA H100 processors, which one of them is 30 grand. So really, all of this high-end processor stuff from NVIDIA, it's meant for the data centers. It's meant for the Facebooks and Googles of the world. And did you know that 40 cents on every dollar a startup raises that's around AI goes right back into the cloud companies in order to afford time sharing of these processors? So it's worse than the Apple tax of 30%.
There's two ways to look at this. One is building models. And that's what you need the big data center for, right? You need 100,000. Mark Zuckerberg has 300,000 of these H100 and maybe a few H200 now in his data centers, right? That's a huge amount of compute to shove a huge amount of data into to build one of these models. But running the model, that's called inferencing. And the Macintosh has a lot of AI inferencing power for most models, maybe not the biggest ones, but you're going to see Apple explain, oh, you can run your models locally and do a lot of things locally, like keeping your stuff private, right? They're going to make a big deal about keeping your stuff private, run it locally. It also is cheaper to run it locally because if I'm running the AI model on my Macintosh, I'm not paying Amazon for tokens, right? Going in and out of the system. So it's you're going to see entrepreneurs really think through their inferencing in a new way. Then you're also seeing companies like Grok, not Grok with a K, which is X's AI, Grok with a Q, GROQ. They're making a special AI inferencing chip that runs everything very fast. The Llama models that are running on Grok are running twice as fast as even the new OpenAI model that just got announced on Tuesday, right? Which is also a lot faster than it used to be. So we're in a speed race now, and so that's going to put some pressure on the chip industry to figure out how to make AI inferencing machines that are hyper fast.
Yeah, the language processing units. I've heard about it and I kind of know about it, but like, can you guys expand and explain it to me? Like I'm 5.
Well, we're using it for voice to voice, and it's blazingly fast. It outputs around 800 tokens per second. So I'm not sure where we're going to stand with using it with OpenAI's new announcements, because the pipeline isn't quite the same anymore. And then back to language models. So they use the Mistral models. There's a lot of work going into quantization, and so lots of work going into things that'll make inference run on small devices.
Yeah, quantization. So pretty much what that means is that it's taking, I guess, how fast, or it's taking the knowledge of or capacity of current models and it's minimizing it so that it runs with less storage, right? That's what quantization means.
Yeah, it means that the weights, which usually take up more memory, are made smaller, so they're not using as many bits.
Cool. So
Making the memory footprint of the model much smaller, so you can fit it on a smaller device.
So
with less memory.
That raises a question, like what is it going to take for us to reach the next level? So we're at GPT-4, and OpenAI has made updates to GPT-4. Like in October, or November they added vision and audio, and now they've added multimodal inputs and outputs. So what is it going to take for us to get to GPT-5?
Well, what I'm expecting to see from GPT-5 is just a kind of general improvement in intelligence to the extent that it can understand whole large problems. If you're working with GPT-4 at the moment, you've got something complicated to do, you've still got to break it down into parts. You can get it to break things down into parts, and you can build kind of tree of thoughts type setups, and there's things you can do with like autogen or creating an agent framework where it works through a problem in stages. But I think GPT-5, as well as having all the multimodal capabilities, should also have basically the ability to fully understand a large problem and work on it logically. And I think that's going to be kind of the big step forward. I think basically a lot of what we're expecting to see in the next generation is basically that there's glimmers of it already, and it's just kind of wrapping that all together, making it more convenient to use, not having to put as much energy into prompting, and it to just get on with stuff without you having to think as much on your end. That's what I'm expecting.
I'm thinking, Andy, that you have a perfect voice. I'm wondering if that's really your voice or if you're running it through some sort of AI translation, giving you that really nice accent.
No, there's an entire town full of people that sound just like it, so I don't think it's artificial.
That's funny. For me, I'm most excited about this contextual knowledge of AI. Like, I want the first gen search on my device, my data, my last conversations, the music I'm listening to, what I've done in the past. And right now, when I ask Alexa, Siri, Google, any one of those voice bots something, I'm given the context of the world, not me. And I think when Gmail came out in, was that 2003? When Gmail started looking at spam holistically across the whole server, until then, all the spam was only done within your email account. I think that being able to leverage the cloud is great, and it needs to be done. However, the rules for AI need to be local first, then remote. I can't tell you how many times I ask Siri to do something, and she looks on the cloud without considering my prior history. And even the Apple executives recently have said, like, yeah, we were maybe a few years late on updating Siri. So it's said that Apple's spending $1 million a day on their AI initiative with developers internally. So they're also doing licensing with Apple. I'm sorry, not Apple, with Google for Bard. And they're also, as of last week, said to be doing licenses with OpenAI as well. So you're going to have 3 flavors of AI with your iPhone. And as much as I love gadgets, my nickname is the gadget guy. The pendants, the rabbits, all of these gadgets, they're just novelty acts right now. Robert's holding up his rabbit device now. They're super cute, and I love teenage engineering and what they're doing with music. But remember, the most popular camera is the one that's in your pocket. And we all watched Flickr with the device monitoring capability. And Flickr would say, like, the Canon EOS and whichever camera was most popular. And do you remember how quickly in 2009, 10, Flickr just went, no more cameras, it was just the iPhone. So the fact that the pixels are getting more intelligent with image recognition, Samsung phones, if you take a picture of the moon, they use AI to represent their version of the moon on top of the picture of the moon, which I think's, probably bad acting. But hey, who cares? My iPhone is taking 15 images of the picture that I make, and then they're overlaying all those images to give an HDR shot or a better shot than I could even do. And just like talk about what happened with the Aurora Borealis last week. We went out to the Golden Gate Bridge, and you cannot see the northern lights due to all the light pollution in the city. But if you held your iPhone up and took pictures, you get amazing photos. So whatever magic iOS is doing with imagery, it pulled out some really cool photos that we didn't even think we could get based upon light pollution. So I think all these devices in your pocket are going to be the true winners. So right now, the pendants and rabbits are just novelty acts while they can, because hardware is hard. Hardware sucks. But I do still have a hardware doorbell outside with a camera on it. I just want it to be more intelligent.
I just shared a post, a leak from Meta, where they're working on headphones that have cameras on the headphones and one of these large language models in the headphone that you can talk to, and it can see what you're looking at. You know, Meta has a big disadvantage. They don't have a phone near you. They don't have a desktop near you. They don't have a laptop near you. They don't have an iPad near you, right? I'm in an Apple family. I have 15 devices, all of which have an ultra wideband radio chip on them. That means they can join together and pass prompts around the network to where there is resources. And there's a lot of AI resources in the Apple ecosystem. 21% of an M1, M2, M3, M4 chip is AI inferencing. We talked earlier about AI inferencing. That part of the chip, I have 4 of them in my house. That part of the chip is cold. It's not being used. And I'm like one of the top AI influencers in the world. That part of the chip should be white hot right now in my house, right? Should always be being used. Well, I'm trying to use it with things like Limitless that's recording us right now. But to write a transcript, it only needs like 300 milliseconds. That's a third of a second. After that, that part of the chip goes back to being unused, right? So I'm expecting Apple to have an ecosystem-wide play at WWDC and sort of say, hey, Mark Zuckerberg, you got to go sell people headphones. We've already sold people headphones, right? But they have an ultra-wideband chip, so they can hook up to your M1 processor and do AI inferencing in your house, in your headphones, right? I'm expecting some big things, but we'll see. Apple's a big, creaky, old, slow company now, and can they innovate, right? Can they take advantage of of what they got?
Scoble, I'm glad you mentioned this, because on my podcast, What's Next Wall Street, I talked about the fact that the neural chip, which Apple, has been bragging about since the iPhone 10, which got the neural engine, right?
Yeah.
I run a terminal utility to look at what my CPU is doing, and that neural chip gets 0 millivolts. 0. It's never on. When I launch podcasts, it might blip to like 1 millivolt. When I launch photos, I thought photos would be doing this as part of like, where's the photo taken? Give me some, when Apple does that cute little montage of photos from a trip. It's not using that chip because it has 0 volts. I want to know when they're going to turn that baby on.
Yeah.
June next month.
Well, June is when
the new Siri. That shit was put there for the new Siri, so the new Siri could have LLMs running on your phone and doing all this newfangled stuff that OpenAI is showing us, right?
But June is going to be the announcement, right? And it normally takes a couple months for the developer preview of iOS 18. So when do you think we'll actually be able to start playing with this?
If we have it by October, that'd be cool. If they told us it's coming in first quarter of next year, we've seen them do that before. All right, we'll wait, because there's a lot of advantages to Siri that OpenAI cannot match, particularly if you have a Vision Pro, which everybody's going to have a Vision Pro soon because they're going to be a lightweight pair of glasses. Yes, they will. You watch what's coming. I went to the display show yesterday to check. They have really, really tiny projectors on pairs of glasses coming. It's not just Apple. Meta's doing these things too, right? And you're going to have a pair of glasses on that you're going to talk to. Yeah. Where was I going with that? New series.
In 2001, I went to...
All right, so the new Siri, by the way, Siri, because it has eye sensors, and by the way, they just added eye sensors to your iPhone. I don't know if you caught
Yep.
that yesterday. They just added the ability for the phone to watch where you're looking on the screen. Well, that is a new capability that Siri can use and nobody else can use, right? Because Apple's in charge of all the sensors and in charge of the developer ecosystem. They can tell the developers they can't use that. Right. And that's what is going down. They've told the developers on the Vision Pro, no, you can't use the cameras to build apps. No, 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 no. That's our deal, right? We get to turn on the cameras and use the cameras and the eye sensors. So new Siri coming next month, or we'll see it next month, can tell what you're looking at, what you're holding, what you're touching, what you're gesturing towards, what you're moving towards, what's moving away from you, what's moving toward you. Right. And it can talk to you about that. So you can be holding a cup of Coke and saying, hey, can you buy 20 of these on Amazon? And it can answer that question and take care of your request. OpenAI can't because it doesn't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, it's hard to judge.
My favorite South Park.
Oh, go ahead.
Back in a year ago, my favorite South Park was Jeff Bezos with a ham radio, headphones on, dialing into everyone's Alexa, listening to what people were saying in their house. So whenever I hear about this stuff, it just goes back to that. And even Zuck, he's doing some cool videos with the Ray-Bans where he's saying, take a picture of this, tell me about this. And Robert, you were the official glass hole for Google, right? And that demo that Google gave with Google Glass, where it was navigating you around the streets of New York with telling you where to turn left, where to turn right. The geeks do such a good job with the demos, but in actuality, the glasses got slapped off people's faces. So I think during COVID, when people were locked in at home, Meta should have dropped a $299 low resolution Oculus. And they missed that opportunity. So now we're out and about. We want the hugs. We want the face-to-face. We want, heart-to-heart conversations. So it's got to be, I think, a super lightweight thing that goes on your face, because Vision Pro, I wore it. I spent a day with it, and I couldn't wait to get those things off my face.
Yeah. So I think the Vision Pro is just too heavy. Like once they lighten it up, like you're saying, put the AI in some glasses, or I don't know if you guys watch anime, Dragon Ball Z, they have the little scouters. They could tell your power level. But that might be
this is the kind of stuff I saw at the display show yesterday. Little lightweight glasses that have information.
Oh, you're on mute. You went on mute.
Oh, Robert.
Oh, sorry. The glasses are coming, and they will sell. That's I saw them yesterday. They're 18 months or less away from a consumer product, and you're seeing that the AI is coming along and is doing new things with glasses now, right? And we're going to reconsider glasses, because when Google Glass came out, I wore Google Glass for a year. I never got them slapped off my face, by the way, but I wore them for a year, and they just didn't do that much. They really didn't do much at all, and they didn't work a lot of times when you try to use them.
So I didn't say you got them slapped off your
Brian,
face.
did you wear Google Glass?
There were some.
Brian, are you gonna wear Google Glass all day? Because otherwise, you got to get in here. Otherwise, me and Dave are gonna go at it for half an hour.
No, but I did have a question for you. What do you think Apple might do with regard to training? Like, NVIDIA kind of has the market wrapped up, except for a company called Cerebras, which does wafer scale devices for training. What do you think Apple will do in that regard, or will they do anything?
They are building their own models. They've shown off 3 models. Actually, a few more it came out recently, but there's 3 models: a small, a medium, and a large model that Apple employees have been showing off in public on X.com, and they're using an infrastructure called MLX to run it all, and that's getting praise from the developers that I talked to.
Yeah, I meant more in terms of the hardware. Like, NVIDIA kind of has wrapped things up because they have the whole training software stack that is Python and all per their hardware, and Apple has these GPUs that are very low power but they're not really being utilized for the data center and for training. So that was kind of what I was getting at. Like their studios have
I
a
don't know what
unified
their
memory too, which is
enterprise.
unified memory
Yeah, I
too,
don't
so
know
you
what.
can run.
Yeah,
Andy,
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to put in the data center. I don't know. Do they have a data center product to compete with NVIDIA to build models? I don't know that. I've seen some rumors that their silicon is being geared up to do stuff like that. Obviously, Apple has its own model building needs that it's going to have over time because they're going to need to build their own models. They're not. If they rely on OpenAI to build models, that's not going to lead them to a good place. So they're going to have to gear up a data center with a whole bunch of compute. Do they go and buy a bunch of NVIDIA cards for that? They certainly have the money to do that, right? But do they take a Apple Silicon approach to that? I would expect that they would announce that as well next month at WWDC.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if they do that. Um, the as I was saying, the unified memory on Mac Studio right now maxed out is 192 gigabytes, so you can get larger models training or inferring on those. Not really training because you need more machines
Yeah.
than that, but definitely running inference. If you need to run a large model, you can load it on a Mac Mini. I mean, a Mac Studio for that.
Yeah. Everybody who's building serious models seems like they're settling on NVIDIA right now for building the model. For inferencing, a lot of people are using Grok with a Q, this new startup company that's building an AI inferencing chip. But I have no idea if Apple's going to go to war with NVIDIA over data centers and try to sell, companies like Tesla, millions of chips. I don't know. We'll see if they have an answer to that, but I don't expect them to have a huge answer because Apple's not a data center company. They don't have aspirations to go to war with AWS or Google Cloud or that kind of thing.
I really,
They could sell a lot of hardware though. But yeah, I kind of agree that it seems unlikely that they're going to move in that direction. But they could potentially because they have the hardware already.
I
And
really,
they have the silicon team to do custom chips. Yeah.
I want to get in there
Yep.
and talk about so Elon Musk, he's a player in this LLM space with Grok. Like, why do you guys think Grok's not as popular as the rest of them?
Grok is started from a behind position and it's still behind. I still only have version 1.0 running on my machines and it's not integrated into x.com at all. Like if I ask, hey, Grok, can you unfollow Dave? It can't do that. It doesn't know how to do that. It's not integrated. It's not built in deeply into the X ecosystem yet. Can you ask it things about the news? Yeah, it's all right. Does it give you an accurate answer? It's not as good as Chat GPT, right? So if you compare, a prompt on Grok with a K versus, Chat GPT's models, Chat GPT's ahead. So they have a lot of work. They just got some funding though, which means they just got the ability to buy some more NVIDIA cards to build some more models. So we'll see over the next 6 or 8 months how they catch up. Because what I'm hearing from inside the team is they're going to see some massive improvements soon.
Yeah, and on that subject, I would like to see how you guys think the different LLMs measure up to each other. So my ranking is GPT-4o or 4o. Gemini probably second. Third will be Meta. Fourth probably Mistral. And then I've never used Grok, so I don't know where that would rank. But how do you guys think about my little ranking system?
It depends. Your answer will depend on if you're a developer building these into systems, right? Because then you have to consider the cost of these things, the latency of these things, the accuracy of these things, how open source are they, right? And then if you talk to developers, I'm hearing Llama a lot more toward the high end of the list, right? Because it's open source, you can run it locally. It's a pretty good model. You can run it on Grok with a queue and make it really fast, right? There's a lot of open source advantages there. But if you talk to an end user and say, okay,
Do we lose Scoble's audio, or is that just me?
Is he frozen for the rest of us?
Robert,
Frozen and
your finger slipped off the space bar.
I think he's
Brian, are you working with businesses?
okay. You're back.
Robert, we lost part of you there, but
I only caught part of that question.
I just laid out that Llama is being used by developers more, and I was wondering if you're seeing the same thing.
Yeah, I think Llama is definitely being used along with Mistral. Again, the Grok with the LPU has a number of models that they support. No customized models yet. I'm interested too in terms of like what's going to happen with training with startups because they can't afford to do the training, and also just throw in there again Cerebras with their wafer scale device. Each one is about $2 million, but they definitely outperform what NVIDIA is doing in terms of training models. So I think there'll be a player there going forward.
I'll tell you why Llama is so hot now for startups is the fact that OpenAI, they're so new with APIs, and their team, they're just a brand new company. So you can be building for an API now, and then the next day the API is either guardrailed or shut off completely. So my advice that I give to the startups that I work with is build on your own your own backends for LLMs that you have control of. And I think it's clever what Facebook's doing, because look, the use of Facebook is down. Like I used to use it hourly, then daily, then weekly, and now I barely get on Facebook, right? So I'm sure that's a trend that a lot of people are seeing as well. So Zuck bought Instagram and WhatsApp because he saw that decline on a global scale. And now if you've got Instagram fighting for TikTok, and TikTok being the winner now with social, he needs something for data inferences. And if we look at what OpenAI is doing with licensing content from Reddit, or was it Meredith Publishing? So even OpenAI needs that data ingest as well. So by giving the Llama models out there, he's going to get data back into that system.
I'm curious what you guys think about just the concept of open sourcing AI. Like a lot of people agree with it, some people don't. Like, what's your take?
I absolutely agree with it. I think that otherwise small companies are going to get locked out in the near term.
And is there a strategic advantage to open sourcing? Because last year I think someone from Google said that no one has a moat except probably Meta because they're open sourcing their LLMs. Like I think I get that, but do you guys have a deeper understanding of what that person was trying to say?
Oh man, the open source versus closed source. The closed source people who say you need to be closed source have a lot of AI safety concerns. Are people using it to figure out how to build a pipe bomb or something like that? Then all of a sudden, that's where the guardrails show up and say, "Oh no, you're not allowed to ask this question on OpenAI or whatnot." Well, in an open source world, and be answered, right? And maybe the guardrails aren't there. It also open source lets developers build systems with it much better and have that consistency and have the ability to add in their own source or change it to their needs. That's very positive for developers and for that part of the world. In terms of building a system, that consumers would use. Well, right now, the ChatGPT's assistant is ahead of everybody. It has better emotionality, it has better speed, right? It's better integrated. It does things that the others can't do yet. So right now, the closed is ahead, and we'll see if that's true at the over time. So far, the open source is catching up, and the models are getting better, but they haven't yet matched the quality of the ChatGPT model. So it's OpenAI, which is not open at all. It's closed against Face Zuckerberg with Meta's Llama models, which is open. It's sort of fun.
Yeah. What's interesting is that everyone has caught up at this point. Gemini, Llama, and the rest of them.
They're not yet caught up. Be careful.
I mean,
They're close to catching up.
but like they're for the most part caught up. Like you can't really tell the difference for most general use cases. So at this point, I'm trying to figure out like what would the advantage be? Like what would really set an LLM model apart, in which you can say this is clearly better than the rest of them at this particular moment in time.
It always goes back to the data set that's feeding it. Instagram has all the photos in the world and videos, right? So I would predict that the Llama models will have better photo capabilities and better ability to create 3D scenes in the future, which is going to be a thing next year, right? They have more data to build these models than anybody else. They have more pictures of the Golden Gate Bridge than any other service. So I would expect a thing that does something with photos about the Golden Gate Bridge, i.e. 3D scenes of the Golden Gate Bridge, or that is going to be better on Llama. Grok with a K has access to real-time data. So if you want to talk about a house that's burning down the street, I have a feeling you're going to have to go to Grok because he has access to real-time data because that's where the real-time world is, right? I'm looking at x.com screen. It's real-time. I can't talk to Facebook or LinkedIn in real time. I can't see it in real time. I can't interact with it in real time. I can't build AI agents that talk to it in real time. So if I want to talk to something in real time, like a house is burning down, and I want to talk to an AI about that, I'm going to have to use something like Grok because of the data. Always go back to who has the data. If you want to build a medical device, you better have a lot of medical data in your background, right? And it'd be collecting that. And if you don't have a lot of data, I don't think you're credible as a medical device company, right? Because there's other medical device companies that have a fuckload of data that's coming off your heart rates and your scans and all sorts of other things, right? Dave, do you have any feedback on this?
Yeah, I'm going to take a different approach to it. What I'm going to say is insights into how the AI comes up with this knowledge. And what I mean by that is I restore old cars for fun. And in the past, cars did not have ODB2 ports. So you had to kind of like figure out what timing lights, and you had to use mechanical ways to figure out why the car wasn't running so well. Now you just plug in a port, Bluetooth. Even there's companies like Automatic that have gadgets that are marketed to you on Instagram so you can see what your car's up to. Right now, we don't have insights on why the AI is making decisions. And if you have insights on why it's making decision, then you can understand what is weighted. Because remember, all LLMs is if I see a word and another word after it, it's a cloud table. If my AI engine will tell me why decisions are being made, then as the tuner or as the developer, I can start to kind of like lead the witness, maybe is a term for this, but I can get more out of the AI if I know why it's making that decision. So I think open sourcing it will be cool because people will start to plug in these analogous of ODB2 adapters to see why the AI is making a decision. Anybody else?
Well, my question now is why shouldn't OpenAI open source at least GPT 3.5? Like they should at least open source that one. Like, what do you guys think?
When I worked at Microsoft, we had lots of arguments about open sourcing. It takes a lot of engineering to get a system ready for public view, right? You got to take out all the weird ass comments that somebody put in the code. You got to comment it properly. You got to do a lot of engineering work. And for a small startup that has limited resources and a few people just left, there's going to be less and less pressure on them to do that, particularly if they're choosing to go toward a consumer product, which is sort of what they're hinting at with this personal assistant, that they want to be the search engine or the thing that you talk to all day long. They're going after Google. They're not caring about these arguments internally. They're trying to figure out how to add features to make it better so that people will use their app instead of using Google's app. And by the way, I got to run in 2 minutes, so I have another call at 11. But
Okay.
Dave, does that fulfill this? Are you seeing the same thing, that this company is not going to be focused on open sourcing? They're going to be focused on going after Google.
Yeah, it's the same thing as what I said with their lack of API maturity, right? You need a whole API team in order to make stuff work. Look at what Twilio had to do, or MailChimp, right? A lot of these companies, they spend a lot of time on the community, and they're all trying to go to AGI. So if you're building to AGI, you're not going to look in the rearview mirror and let other people tie into your system.
And Robert, before you leave, I want to throw in this question. So now that Ilya has left OpenAI, like, do you think OpenAI can like maintain this consistency of quality, or are they open to like more attack now that they don't have the top guy?
That's a big question. I'll know a lot more after Apple announces, because that's really the last of the big guns that can aim some weaponry at this company, right? And a small company can move a lot faster than a big company. Dave knows this, working at big companies. How many meetings a day do you have to come up with a new feature request or fix a bug or anything really in corporate world? A lot of them, right? And so that's retardant on Apple and Google. They're slow. Google showed a lot of new things this week. I don't have most of them running on my computers yet. And truth be told, I don't have OpenAI's new things that they announced this week either. Right? So we're all like, okay, that looked cool. I want to try it. Oh, I can't try it yet. Right? So.
And by the way, Google just published.
See.
Google just published a 10-minute overview of the 2-hour thing. So that's going to be on linkedin.com/Dave or /n/Dave Matthews with 1 T. I'll post that once I jump out of the podcast at the top of the hour here too.
For sure.
Somebody did a fun video like that where they just cut out all the words where they said AI like 140 times. And it was a funny video. But anyways, I got to run. This was a fun conversation. I think we're in a new world, and we're all going to see it evolve real fast from here. We're heading toward a humanoid robot in our house. It's talking to us, playing games with us, and doing the dishes.
How many people?
I just hope that doesn't screw up kids' relationships for their future loves, because you're never going to get a real-time response from someone you love.
How many people have to run? Just show your hand so I can see if we should continue.
I continue with going as well. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's just wrap it up then. So, can everyone just like go through and just promo whatever they got going on? Starting with you, Robert, since you have to go.
Seven books on technology. I'm doing a video interview show with people in the AI space called Unaligned. Come and find me on X.
Cool. Dave.
Nice. I'm Dave Matthews. I'm a podcast host on What's Next Wall Street, and it's on everywhere that you get your podcasts. And we talk about all this stuff every week. And I love helping startups. So if you've got a startup in AI, I'm a CTO for hire, and I've got a lot of history under my belt making startups way better than they used to be. So, Dwayne, nice to meet you, and the rest of the team here, Andy and Brian, and look forward to future conversations.
Yeah.
Likewise.
All right. Thanks for coming. And Brian, what you got going on?
Yeah, so people can track what I'm doing with my startup just by going to mindmachinelearning.com. And we don't have anything publicly released yet, but we're working on that and may have something out with something we're building in maybe about a month.
All right. And Andy.
Great. Yeah, I'm at Tees Valley AI. That's TEES Valley AI. And you can get all sorts of AI made there for yourself if you want. And I'm on Twitter and LinkedIn and all this stuff.
Yeah, and my community over at Medallion Excellent, just keep following us on all the things, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Substack, all the stuff. And we'll keep you updated with the project. So there you go.